God fucking damn it, Dennard. I knew this fucking Katawa Shoujo thing was my idea, but it was your fucking fault. Do you know what kind of week it's been? I'm a fucking mess. I spent the last 2 days before I went back to work playing through the other routes. I wrote a Facebook post about what this game does to my heart, and then deleted it because I sounded like a cartoon. I spent a half hour explaining to Morgan, through tears, why Rin's second H scene was one of the most romantic things I've ever seen. I wrote a fan fiction, Dennard. Morgan doesn't know. Fuck you for this. I said a few episodes back we weren't doing a Kage episode. Fuck that too. It's happening.
Fucking wonderful. I looked up how to make ribs.
And do you know how to make ribs now, Dennard?
I do know how to make ribs.
I'm so glad that you've used your time wisely.
There's no printout of my new
We only
ribs.
get so much on this earth. We have to do smart things with it.
There's no printout of my shiny new ribs recipe next to, I don't know what kind of, I was going to say post-ironic, but I guess I should say completely unironic, pre-ironic waifu shrine that must now dominate some quarter of your room. Like, this, you are essentially a Karen in 1995, and Titanic has just rocked your fucking world.
It's not a physical temple, but it is certainly present, and I can see it, and Morgan can kind of see it.
Does Rin draw you at any point in this narrative, and do you ask her to, like one of your French girls?
So, the answers to these questions are yes and no. Yes, she does draw you. You're in an art club. It's an art club assignment. You're supposed to draw one another. Your drawing of her sucks ass. Hers is very good, but you notice that you look very sad, and you want to ask her why she drew you this way, and she's just like, "'Cause you've never fucking smiled." I made it sound like kind of funny just now, but it's a kind of very deeply sad scene.
Dude, tragedy and comedy are a fucking tag team.
Yeah.
I read this story by like this mysterious up-and-coming sci-fi author in Clark's World this month called Own Goal. I think his name is Dennard Bale.
I too read this issue of Clark's World.
There are basically 3 versions of that story that I was sort of stuck between.
Oh?
One of them took the whole thing as way more of a jerk show cartoon of getting their own fucking colony blown up.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is basically the Nami Da Toad from the end of Iron Blooded Orphans, stretched out through the length of the piece. I decided to moderate my impulses because both
find some sort of synthesis.
Yeah, because both seemed kind of swingy and maybe didn't have the verisimilitude I wanted.
Synthesis is good. Usually could find something there.
Something that reminded me of a point you were making at one point. I think this was during the best of episodes, which are actually our highest pre-advertising rated episodes, so good job there. But
listicles sell.
Listicles
I mean, it's a listed show, but hey.
Yeah, cracked punched ahead of its weight for a long time on that shit. And you were talking a bit about how you consider Avatar anime, and that is a wonderful way to start Flame Wars, and that Flame War has returned to the world. You got to be part of the fucking vanguard.
Again, I'm going to credit Jeff Thu with changing my mind on this one. Shout out to Mother's Basement, very nice channel. He's way too forgiving of isekai, but I'll forgive him for being too forgiving. When
it comes to that argument, I think I'm more sympathetic to your half, which was some kind of mealy-mouthed Joe Biden way of saying I agree with you. My angle on it is a little more terse in that, I don't know, they only made Westerns in America at first with American fucking preoccupation and then history and figures and what have you. If you want to cut the spaghetti Westerns out of that conversation, then have fun, I guess.
The more sort of, I guess, you could say macro version of that argument is that, like, a movement can begin in one place and not necessarily stay contained to that place.
Oh, man, I wonder how many people will fucking jump ship next week if we just throw in some U.S. Netflix productions on this mother.
Are there any? Like, I'm sure there are. I don't watch...
We might
Honestly, Netflix is just not my fucking viewing platform of choice these days. If I have a favorite, it's either, like just Crunchyroll or Hulu.
What a strange way of pronouncing piracy. Or are we keeping kayfabe on that one?
We're keeping kayfabe on that, or we're trying to at least. I'm trying to.
Sorry, when I said piracy, what I meant was legally watching Netflix while seizing British ships.
It's fine. Simulcast or something. I know what a simulcast is.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm pretty sure that Kaguya-Sama is on Hulu or something. I believe it is.
Oh man, I was really taking on this oil tanker while watching this show.
Speaking of oil tankers, there's a lot of black matter that's been spilled about Kaguya-Sama already. Although running in the circles that I do on the Weebosphere, right? I think most of this ink has been related to fights over who best girl is, and I cannot think of a more plebeian fucking argument than that. So we're gonna talk about literally everything fucking else.
I can't enter one of those conversations about best girl in blank or best boy or whatever without suddenly being reminded of the limited time I have before I die.
Unless
and,
it's
you know,
prison school.
good on you. And maybe it's easier if you have faith in like an afterlife or reincarnation.
I wonder if those people are living happier lives than we are. Just the people who can just point and say, this one is best girl, and I will fight anyone who says anything to the contrary.
And they're like, yeah, when I get that flashback of my life until the end, I'm gonna say, that's fine. I might come back as like a diplomat or some shit next time. Then I'll put in some fucking work. Is my thought on it. I don't know if I can even call this one a review as much of a discussion since the jury's kind of out on this one. It's fucking funny. It's good.
Isn't it back?
Once
I
more?
thought the jury's back.
Oh, the jury's back? Okay, whatever.
The jury's back on this one. Yes, it's fantastic. It's one of the best anime comedies of the last 10 years. That's that much I do not think is in question. I'm hoping that I can provide, some amount of insight that someone else has not sort of given yet. I'm hoping that I do not disappoint in this regard. But mostly, if you liked this show too and you just want to hear someone agree with you for an hour, then
yeah, we are here to agree with you. Welcome to One Weeaboo News, bitches. I'm about to feed you some fucking reactionary hay. And as for my overall level of insight in this episode, I don't know. I'm pretty well hedged in a fucking deep water of punchlines, so I think I'm fine anyway.
Yeah.
So something that I really appreciated more this fucking round, by the way, it's present in the first season, but I don't know, they varied the reference pool a bit in this one. It's just every time they use action, adventure, animation, tropes, or iconography, or fucking language to like emphasize or prop up a gag, it really just works very well on this show.
A lot of the time it seems like there aren't a whole lot of anime directors that are also complete fucking film nerds the way that the director of the Kaguya-Sama anime is, but it's exceptionally abundantly clear in Kaguya-Sama, especially in the second season, that this is indeed the case.
Oh yeah, you definitely get a nice this guy watches everything feel from it.
I am also definitely not going to sell their editor short. He's a fucking genius. She's a fucking whoever the fuck they are. They're a fucking genius. One of the points that I wanted to raise about this show is how fantastic it is as an adaptation, because you've got all of this kind of surreal and visual and dialogue humor present in the comic, and then you take that and you animate it, and now you have its perfect timing as well, just making everything just a little bit funnier. I think the one exemplar chapter / segment that I want to use is the underwear one, because it's side splitting either way, but they're different, and it like enough things are changed very in a very interesting way in the adaptation that it's a fun thing to sort of watch side by side.
Oh yeah, that was the episode that reminded me of the words for strict and gross. So good for your fucking vocab there.
And what's really interesting and almost kind of miraculous, right, is that a lot of the jokes in the manga only work in a manga, and then the show takes these jokes and then makes them only work in an anime. And I don't know how the fuck they do it. I'm jealous of it sometimes.
It's a nice contrast, or maybe companion, to our core insight on, what did you call them? Taxidermy adaptations? Whatever,
yeah, certainly.
The fucking anime to live action things that have been churned out as of yore.
Oh, yeah, where, like, no fucking soul still exists in it by the time you're done sort of making it. It's an interesting point, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of good consciousness of medium in this, like, how do we make the music work for this?
The music, how they use movement in this, because, you know,
yes, the Chico walk cycles.
The Chico walk cycles, there's, they use their limited animation, in a way I have not seen, I want to say, since Kill la Kill. Just whenever they have to animate something slightly minimally, they will turn it into a gag. Sometimes just having the characters sort of float from one side of the screen to the other in a humorous way across like a abstract background.
Okay, I'm just going to do the work for a second.
Okay.
To the one listener of Weeaboo Hell not familiar with the concept of Kaguya-Sama,
Okay, yeah.
According to my record's name is Kevin Rollins of Tampa. Hello, Kevin. Nice to meet you. I'm Dennard Dayle. This is Weeaboo Hell. It's Weeaboo Hell. Kaguya-Sama is that show that you fell asleep while your friends were talking about it last week. It's a high school romantic comedy that is good enough that we are talking about a high school romantic comedy. And the general core gag is taking a sort of Death Note level of plotting and personal dramatics to the micro scale of just interpersonal high school relationship nonsense. You caught up, Kevin? You good? High five, Kevin.
All right. We're good.
You're my favorite viewer. You know why? Because you put yourself out there. Thank you, Kevin.
Speaking to the Death Note thing, I don't know why, but I feel like if you are a mangaka, right? You're looking for like your big fucking hit. I feel like the easiest money you're ever going to make as a mangaka is like Death Note, but with morons. It's such a fucking winning combo, and every time I've seen it, it's just fucking killed.
It is true. That is prison school's magic. This thing's magic. The only asterisk I would put on that is that is the light side path to easy money, maybe. I think there is a very open dark side door of, I don't know, an isekai where you turn into a fucking idol.
Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sure it exists.
So,
there's no way it doesn't exist. I'm going to have to look this up. Catch me next episode, and I will tell you the name of this anime, because there's no fucking way it does not exist.
It has to be out there. I think you're right. Let's call your suggestion there the Path to Glory. It's Yoda's address on someone's Palm Pilot. Palm Pilot? What the fuck is it? 2003? Whatever. It's interesting because it definitely takes a sort of bag of tricks and tone that is very unique to a type of action anime up to a point, and then it just thrives in this comedic context. And I guess the juxtaposition of stakes is just the real thing.
There's a certain sort of thing to it, which is when you're making a show, right, that's, you know, like Death Note, but with morons, and the stakes are not half as high as they seem to the characters in the show, right? The only place you could plausibly have this be set is in high school, because that's the time in your life when stakes such as these seem as dire as the ones such as in Death Note.
Oh yeah, it's when everything matters, all caps, bold text, underlined, projected on your wall.
And that's sort of bringing me to this one thing, which is in the last, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, not just in anime and manga, but in other stuff, there's just been a whole rash of shows and such that, though very stylized, of course, they seem to have a very deep understanding of the teenage mind.
I am disturbed that it took that long to reach it when all of this bullshit is about high school all the time.
Well, here's what I suspect. I suspect it's because all of these creators, who have, been coming out with stuff within the last 6, 7, or 8 years, they're all members of our generation, and we all had similar experiences. And it's sort of funny, like thinking of, I don't know, like Kaguya-Sama sort of getting how teenagers fucking overthink everything. Or let's say, in the West, just, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, sort of understanding kind of understanding how like teenagers interact these days and sort of the their kind of priorities there.
Well, I'm with you on your slant on those works. The thing about that idea is that every wave has people that came up together and went through like their own version of the fucking high school experience. So it doesn't necessarily key into why the hit rate on this material is only really getting better at this point. At least in a specific weebish context.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that the hit rate's getting better for us. Unless I'm misunderstanding you.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, like, it's just keyed into our palette. In 10 years, it'll all seem like pure bullshit again.
Oh, it could very well be. Like, I remember, here's the thing, you know, like, as early as a couple of years ago when they just, like, have fucking the Powerpuff Girls fucking twerking and dabbing all over the screen. Maybe 13-year-olds think that's fucking hilarious. I don't know. I don't think I'll understand if I tried. But I just remember everyone of my generation, right, who grew up with that show, you know, and all the various other, you know, Gendy McCracken shows, just looking at that, like, that fucking gif of,
you know what Dan Harmon said about season 4 and his family and the beach?
What did he say?
So Dan Harmon, not
of
Dennard
Clint Eastwood,
Dayle.
that gif of Clint Eastwood.
This isn't Dennard Dayle saying it. Cancel Dan Harmon and not me. Compared season 4 of Community, which is made without his involvement or consent, to watching his family get raped on the beach.
What the fuck? Okay, so why the beach?
He chose the beach because it's evocative. I don't know. Maybe he's like Anakin Skywalker. He hates sand. It gets everywhere. Especially on, evidently, his family.
I was just remembering this big collective generational sort of like that we all sort of did when that show premiered.
Oh, the Flame Wars were piquant. As someone who enjoys spectating a good flame war, it really kept me warm in a dark era. Like, as I just wondered what the future of American democracy was, I could at least enjoy people calling each other traitors or children over the Powerpuff Girls TV show. What a magical bag of dicks those clips were.
Good.
The only thing I can say for
it almost seemed like it was just scientifically designed to make me mad, so I decided to just not have a reaction to it and save myself the heart attack.
It's a funny thing, too, because the original was a wild thing, just trying at something that they hadn't really gone for. And they made it real generic. I want to see a bad Kaguya-Sama adaptation in like 10 years, or fuck it, give me one of those CW shows, but they call it Kaguya-Sama, and I just watch the sort of blood leak from the corner of my eyes.
I tend to be a little bit more forgiving of CW trash than most, because I do think that it is good kind of soap opera nonsense sometimes. For instance, I feel as though I have to hate Riverdale, but also the Twin Peaks for Idiots thing. I do kind of enjoy that, even if they fucking erased Jughead's asexuality.
Unfortunately, I can't speak for Riverdale because I couldn't make it through the episode without going to Night Town, a wonderful place full of sheeps jumping over a gate.
My fucking brains were melting out of my ears. It was one of the dumbest things I'd ever fucking seen.
Well, they definitely need to pick a more exciting director, because I could feel myself slipping into my Casper mattress. I don't have a Casper mattress and no free ads. In fact, fuck it. Until they pay me, Casper sucks. Fuck Casper. All my homies hate Casper. Lynda.com is a place where you learn to forget skills. I used to know how to use Photoshop, and then I went on Lynda for 7 minutes. And now MS Paint gives me fucking trouble.
I don't brush my teeth anymore because I heard a Quip advertisement.
Damn straight. And if you think my ass is touching an audiobook in 2020...
I don't want 1 bottle of wine, and I don't want your 6 bottles of wine. Fuck off. Oh, wait, I literally said 2 or 3 episodes ago that I'd actually... God damn it. Now you all know how much of a fucking fraud I am.
Yeah, jig's up.
So here's the thing. The thing is anime.
Right, anime.
Right, anime, that thing that this is...
Okay, so this character, you're going to remember his name better than I do because you on proper nouns and not having some degree of Asperger's or whatever the fuck is a bit stronger. But I am
I mean, I do, but not... I'm not on that part of the spectrum, just the other part.
Degrees.
One of the other parts.
Types, fire, water, etc. I love the recurring gag with it. I call him girlfriend guy.
Oh, so here's the fun thing is that he did not have a name until much, much later. So his name is Tsubasa. Fun fact.
Tsubasa, okay. He has a
in
reservoir
the
chronicle.
manga, I cannot remember if it's in the anime, but in the manga at the very least, he does not acquire a name until at least halfway through.
Ah, okay.
But Tsubasa, as in Reservoir Chronicle. Which, honestly, is a pretty good mnemonic, right? Because he's just generic guy who has girlfriend.
I just enjoy the simple gag of the simmering rage that the starving dogs around him feel to his existence. They just glare at him and think, this man has seen live boob that he wasn't related to.
That's yeah, and that's sort of part of how the greater student body, or like the unnamed members of the student body, sort of are one collective character in a sense. That sort of just are high school student, except 1,000 of them, and that sounds obvious, but they just sort of...
They seem to be 2 tribes, maybe. There is the Gossip Mill.
There's the Gossip Tribe, and then there's Simmering Resentment one.
They're this wandering barbarian horde of bullies in the comic, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, it seems as though... I feel like most of them show up in the middle school flashback, so maybe they grew up to be the Gossip Tribe and the Simmering Resentment Tribe.
There's a whole Game of Thrones lineage. There was a little war between them. Bullius Rex died on his throne.
They transition over the course of several centuries into the Western Simmering Resentment and the Eastern Gossip Tribe.
Oh man, the Eastern Gossip Tribe gets really overlooked in American classrooms. Go on.
What I wanted to say, character-wise, right, is... I've got a fucking hot take. I got a really fun hot take, and I think I shared it with you earlier, and I was talking with Morgan about it, and I think it's a defensible one. Chika Fujiwara, if you look at it and her character and just what she does and her purpose in the story, is the main antagonist of this show. And as such, is one of the most entertaining anime bad guys of recent years.
Chika Fujiwara is at the very least an agent of Zinch, the Lord of Change. She walks among humans.
People who just don't have their shit together talk about how they radiate chaotic energy. No, you fucking don't. I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper here, but no, you fucking don't. Chika Fujiwara does not just radiate, but is chaotic energy.
I remember when Ultimate X-Men was readable before the end. There was this one mutant who would walk from city to city, and no matter what he did, everyone around him just started dying.
Oh, was that Zorn? Shorn?
It might have been an adaptation of the concept, I'm not sure, but...
Okay.
The point is, they had to send, Wolverine to put him down. And they had a whole affecting little sequence before an off-panel snicked bub. And I can't help but feel that Chika Fujiwara is the interpersonal version of that kid.
Are you sure that Wolverine didn't fucking die from the effort? This is the Ultimate Universe. People were like fucking twigs.
Wolverine's plot armor transcends the boundaries of different settings.
Wait, no it doesn't. He fucking died hard in that. Right?
Was he
right?
torn,
Ultimate Wolverine.
Was he torn
I
in
feel
half?
like-
Was he torn in half or eaten at one point?
I feel like Magneto murked him sometime before Ultimatum.
Oh, it was. I think maybe Ultimates 3. I don't know. I sort of painted over my memory of the late Ultimate Universe because
Oh, it got
I'm not the
bad.
one who said it. I'm not the one who said it, but I'm reminded of Dan Harmon talking about his loved ones on a beach.
What said me? No, fucking anime. We're talking about anime. Fuck me.
Right, but yeah,
All right,
Chika Fujiwara
Chika
as the
Fujiwara.
main villain of
The main villain
Kaguya-Sama.
of this show. At least for the first, I want to say, 70% of it.
That's a fun
After
angle
which-
until manga spoilers incoming. Jump ahead 2 minutes into the glorious future after this comment if you are scared by that idea.
It's probably going to be more than 2 minutes.
Oh, whatever the fuck. All of Kaguya's older siblings are the fucking corporate Yakuza.
I wonder if they're going to end up being overarching antagonists for this whole thing, or if they were just there for that, brief Hayasaka arc that we got.
I hope they don't take the thing over. Because, I don't know, while that segment isn't bad, I sometimes feel like that wavelength of the comic is one of its weaker modes.
Oh, just Kaguya family drama.
In essence, yeah.
I see it rearing its ugly head in one other arc, which is going to be, the arc when, probably one of the last arcs when, like she and Miyuki are set to leave for England. But as for right now, when you have a show that centers upon one couple, right? And once they're together, right, you need to find something fucking else to do.
Kaguya-Sama Z.
So what they did was the solution that a few things have done, where they keep the premise but just have it be a different couple, or in this case, 3 people. And who will it be?
I was curious whether they would be stuck in eternal Archie comics like void.
I knew that they wouldn't be. I know that this guy was no coward.
It is nice that he's no coward, and I guess just bookish high school boys with star tattoos on their shoulder will be a lineage in this comic.
Ultimately, I did very much enjoy sort of how they resolved the, basically the main arc of the entire comic, before, sort of starting the new one with Real Sad Boy Hours.
Yeah, I think pacing it out that way definitely helps.
I'm trying to
with it.
think if there was anything that I would have done differently, because I think there were 1 or 2 things where I was like, No, I did like it. I liked it a lot. And what I liked the most about it was that it had a kind of interesting conversation about what one can, should, and does bring to a relationship, with, the 2 of them having very conflicting philosophies. Whereas, Kaguya herself believes in bringing one's truest self to a relationship, whereas Shirogane believes in bringing one's best self to a relationship. And then they sort of have this sort of debate / internal struggles about that. And I think ultimately the comic kind of takes Kaguya's side in this one.
So that's a conflict within the bit that I enjoy a lot of the road to stuff. If I were to sort of lay my bare hand on the table, I guess that the reason that Prison School still holds its iron trophy over my head, as far as the anime high school comedy-ish goes, is that I sometimes feel like the pure drama beats of Kaguya don't echo as strongly for me, maybe. I feel like that mode is maybe just not as deftly handled.
I don't know. I almost feel like we're taking away points from Kaguya for having it not be Prison School, or just the weird way in which Prison School plays out. And while, yes, we will never ever again get eternity in a drop of piss, one of
Art.
the funniest things that I've ever seen in anything ever, and I know how hyperbolic that sounds. It's not hyperbole. I almost died.
Alright, that's fair. You know what? Take Prison School out of the equation. Except I know, somewhere in my subconscious, presumably.
I can never take it fully out of the equation, but yeah, go on.
I think when I think of Spoiler town, spoiler town, spoiler. Are we basically talking about the comic now? Whatever. We're talking about both. When it comes maybe to, scenes like the big, weighty coming out confession, what have you, on the rooftop in costume and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's my own fault. Like all that good shit I was talking about in the fucking dating sim episode. I'm watching this scene unfold, and it's definitely presented to me as like this should be like one of the climaxes of my emotional reaction to this comic, and I guess I'm not there. And one thing it might be, and I could be wrong, but sometimes I feel like when it comes to its more serious sequences, there's maybe a little bit of tropiness that slips in.
Here's going to be my defense of that scene, is that in universe, that scene was actually acknowledged as sort of overblown and overly dramatic and kind of done up and theatrical, much in the way, that those two can be. And it was just not an honest scene. And then it's the scene later on the bench, because remember, they do not actually get together immediately. Like, they sort of fucking play around. Like, they have their fucking doubt party for the next 5 chapters afterwards, until they have that scene during winter break where they just meet on the bench. And it's just this very quiet, unassuming little scene that is not too particularly theatrical or dramatic. And that was what fulfilled the emotional beats for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
I sort of saw that as the comic kind of coming to a decision a little bit about, whether you bring your best self, Miyuki's version of this whole thing, or your truest self, Kaguya's version of this whole thing. And that's sort of where Miyuki sort of kind of steps over to, to meet Kaguya there, is, to say, yeah, no, okay, I will be me, the truest version of me for you. And then they just have like that little scene on the bench.
I totally get that that's what's like happening with the characters. Like, that's not beyond my short monkey-like hand. Wait, monkeys have long hands. Whatever. I guess my feeling is sometimes in these dramatic sequences, like even things like dialogue selection doesn't necessarily always have the crispness that I otherwise associate with the bulk of Kaguya.
Okay.
And you and I have watched a lot of stuff together, so I actually have a handy reference for my sort of experience. Which is one show we watched a few episodes of together, and the first person to make some fucking JD or Turk joke fucking dies. We've seen a bit of Scrubs together.
Okay, yeah.
And sometimes when it came to the dramatic apotheosis of a lot of Scrubs episode, you could almost see just this drift of Dennard's right hand to the phone. And sometimes I think that a lot of the eternal curse of endeavor, maybe not a curse, and maybe this isn't even a universal rule, but there's an interesting thing that happens sometimes in drama comedies or comedy dramas or sad shows of jokes or jokey shows of sad shit, where just one half of the equation will just be a little more deftly handled than the other.
Yeah, I would definitely say that searching for name, Asakusa, I think is his name. I think he is better with comedy than he is with drama, certainly. Yeah. I think he did manage to build a very good emotional core for this show, but yes, his comedic beats definitely hit harder.
And do you know what I think it is? I think it is the opposite of fucking BoJack Horseman, which I'm going to tilt my hand a little here, send me your fucking hate mail, whatever. Also, yes, another non-anime thing, but to me, BoJack Horseman, that show's jokes, a lot of time I just go... But the drama half of that one works very well. So I don't know. I guess it's just an interesting.
I'm trying to think of something
side
that has
these mixed engagement shows.
I'm trying to think of a show that I have watched that did one for me, but just did not do the other. Get back to me on that.
I think Glow was a lot like that for me too.
I don't think I actually ever got past the first season of Glow. I kind of wanted to, but that's sort of how I am with a lot of shows sometimes.
Oh, maybe we can make it on the list once we get past the 9 hours of anime we watch a week.
Someday I'll watch a 3D thing.
Such is life in the zone. I feel like I should hedge myself here. I really, really like the whole Kaguya thing. I just think that, I don't know, these podcasts are more interesting when you discuss the whole picture.
What I think got interesting was this show's kind of fascination with Young, and sort of just this funny thing that has happened to Young where, like, his methods and theories are somewhat outdated, but they make for really fun shows.
It is fascinating to see, like, someone's scientific construction become the equivalent of tarot decks and action shows. Just a
precisely.
framework for typing things and moving plot along. It is very amusing.
And then you end up with the fucking... Oh, this is a very
console.
rare Kaguya. This is an S plus rare Kaguya.
Oh man, it has a hat. You can feed it a carrot.
The fucking carrot.
Incredible.
It was great. It would have been... Probably it's in my top 5 favorite chapters. The underwear chapter and the Shoujo chapter are probably like the 2 best ones out of any of them.
So I know your favorite episode might have been the underwear thing, or maybe one of your favorite adaptations. But that entire shoujo convergence sequence for me...
The Shoujo convergence is masterful.
I was grinning from ear to ear.
Well, that's the thing. They take place in the same episode, right? So it's just the best episode of the series. The season 2, episode 7 is the one that I'm talking about. If any of you got Crunchyroll open and want to just take a goddamn look, it's side-splitting fucking start to finish. All of the various like limited animation gags that I was talking about are there and they rule. You know, whenever they pull out the stops in the animation, it's there and it rules.
It just encapsulates the series' whole game of virgin chicken.
Yes. Tata, Patsamita. One thing that I was doing to sort of diagnose what went right, I guess, if that makes sense, is I was watching that segment with the chapter open in the manga, and I was looking at the things that worked better in the anime versus the things that still worked better in the manga. I think I could find one thing that still worked better in the manga, which is so there's that great little scene, right? Let me set the scene for y'all who are listening.
Fog rolls in. Intro. The detective's office.
For whatever stupid reason, Kaguya is trying to figure out what type of not boxers, just undergarments in general, Shirogane wears. And decides after some deliberation that she's just gonna fucking straight up blindside him and ask him just, as I said, straight up. And just kind of go for the shock and awe tactic. And she does. And because he's thinking about something else, he answers her question, like it's just any other question. And then there's this moment where he realizes what she has just asked him and what he has just answered, right? And in the anime, it's this, very well animated and like intentionally over animated reaction shot, right? Mm-hmm. However, I do actually think that this gag works a little bit better in the manga, because in the manga, what happens is you have to turn the page. You have to turn the page, and then you get his horrified, overblown, overdrawn reaction.
Junji Ito for a second.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like Junji Ito, his jump scares, right, are just, like the horrifying thing that happens when you turn the page. Well, the horrifying thing that happened when you turned this page was you got to see Shirogane sort of do a double take and figure out what the fuck he was just asked, what the hell her game is.
It's really wonderful. It's within this whole thing's game of fucking spy versus spy. Is the equivalent of, I don't know, L log of the Kira, sub Kira, how's Kiraing? Sweet.
Oh, it's just screams into his arm.
Yeah.
Although there was this one thing that they did do in the anime, there was a very actual deft little adaptation of the manga. Is that in the manga, right? Just a picture of his preferred, pantsu of choice just sort of appear, like up, above their heads or whatever, just as though, they're just being referred to. And in the anime, there's this genius fucking stroke that they do where he just finds himself unconsciously drawing that pair of underwear just in his notebook as he is writing.
Great.
And then goes to cover it up before she sees it.
Oh man, the subconscious is a fucking traitor.
This show is adapted in a way that is so amazingly brilliant that I am jealous of it all the goddamn time.
Well, on the subject of gags, by the way, I just wrote down that this is a crossover between Archie comics and Spy vs. Spy.
That is apt, yes.
It's fun time.
I feel like the participants in this are slightly smarter than those of Archie comics and Spy vs. Spy, but otherwise, yes.
Yeah, and just the core sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the fucking student council in this thing,
yeah,
all principal figures are in the romantic student council. Kevin Rollins of Tampa. If American student councils had this much power, it would be Icetown every time.
I was about to say we wouldn't need resource officers, but that's none of my business. But then again, no American child should have that much power.
Yeah, you'd have the basketball team sitting down, and they'd be telling them the touring schedule for this semester's games, and all right, so first we're going to a Tequila High, then we're going to a Mortal Kombat High.
Then we're going to Vegas.
And then the school just changed its name to a drawing of a juggalo doing a whippet.
So here's the thing: you say whip it, and then inhaling whipped cream gas. Yes, I say whip it though, and I'm just thinking about those like kind of half-sized greyhounds. I saw a couple when I was on a walk today. They're very long.
Oh man, you
like
have
dogs.
A dog-based disease.
We met a mini bull terrier today. Her name was Wiggles. She was very fuzzy.
I feel this heart of ice. It beats, yet it does not move.
I'm just thinking about you just sitting on the surface of Mars with an old photograph. And you're blue.
On an atomic level, there is no difference between a living bully and a dead bully.
Oh man. So besides that, one thing that I want to sort of talk about, it's a structural sort of thing with this show, is that it reminds me somewhat of one of my favorite shows from when I was in high school / early college. Actually, I think squarely high school, right? Was Phineas and Ferb, right?
Yes, the eternal iteration machine.
Exactly. And how, at first, right? It's just funny, right? It's just, well constructed, slightly episodic comedy. And then after you start watching it, right? And after you've been watching it for a while, you realize that there's more continuity than you thought there was. And it's a show that just gets better the more you watch of it. And I think Kaguya-Sama ended up being that way very much. Possibly with more planning going into it too.
I do appreciate when a show manages to naturally reward being a crazy person fan of it.
Yes, it always makes me feel special and not insane.
And I think Kaguya is quite giving on that front.
It's actually really interesting how this show kind of transitioned from completely serialized to arc-based, and you kind of don't even notice it. I mean, obviously, yeah, they will have the multi-episode, like, okay, so we're doing the sports festival now, or we're doing the cultural episode now, right? Yeah, it got a little bit more obvious as it went on, but, as the main relationship arc actually kind of picked up momentum, you kind of notice this thing just being like little one-off bits of, like one of them losing or winning to, one-off bits where I know one loses or one wins, but things have definitely changed by the time this dumb little segment ends.
Yeah, they do a good job of boiling the frog.
Wait, explain that idiom.
That idiom? Explain boiling the frog?
Boiling, I've never fucking heard that in my life.
I might be getting the animal wrong. It's not bunny boiler, because that's a whole different thing. But the idiom goes, you can kill a frog slowly and without resistance, and it won't notice if you turn the temperature in the pan up slowly.
What the fuck?
It occurs to me now...
Why would you do that? Why would you be killing that poor frog?
That expression might be on level with, like, rule of thumb in terms of fucked upness.
A psychopath came up with that. Holy shit.
Yeah, that one is pretty impressive. I'm thinking about the things I say now, and I would like to apologize to Kevin Rollins Sr., the father that he bonds over this podcast with, who is a card-carrying member of PETA, and I do believe in the dignity of animals. Not as much as you.
You can't just fucking drop it in boiling water and shut the lid. It'll be done in seconds. It's fine.
Dude, even just dropping it in boiling water feels lazy. Fucking man up and get that dry snap in there. If you want frog legs so fucking badly, put some fucking elbow grease in there.
I'm now reminded of every little sight gag or piece of physical comedy I've ever encountered that involved just someone killing an animal so that they could eat it. And
Yep.
I remember it fucking shows up in the first fucking episode of Silver Spoon. Just, he catches a runaway chicken, and the thankful upperclassman who is chasing that chicken was like, "Oh, you want this chicken?" And he's like, and then the guy just nonchalantly fucking lops its head off.
Amazing.
I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me, but gags like that are funny to me.
It has a almost otherworldly appeal as a city slicker. But yeah, my point was that it makes that transition well.
Yes.
When it could have been somewhat jarring.
It could have been jarring, but no, yeah, like they
And it aspired for more than just doing the pure gag thing that I probably would have tolerated and loved, but it aspired for more, and I think it's a better whole picture because of that.
What's fucking sneaky is the thing. Because that is the strength of having the gags be based in the characters. Right, a whole lot of stuff just has the characters be gags kind of in and of themselves. But what they did was he built these characters, right? And then he has the gags just come from who they are as people, right? Mm-hmm. Or rather, more to the point, who they are as teenagers. Because if they were adults, we probably would not have all this be happening right now. They'd probably just be far more honest with themselves about who they were and what they wanted. But that's kind of the fun of teenagers, is that we can laugh at their pain.
By the way, if you are watching this and find yourself mocked by your peers for watching a comedic high school drama, here's a literary reference you can use to defend your degenerate weeaboo self. Ready? Well, you'll find that Kaguya-Sama is a modern execution of The Rape of the Lock, an Alexander Pope satirical poem in which he elevates small conflicts amidst the upper class to a heroic, epic saga. This elevation of tone and mode creates a dissonance that commentates on both daily life, heroic forms, and our own struggles with romance. Bang! You owe me 50 fucking bucks. I'm fucking great.
Yeah. It's like an hour's pay for a tutor, right?
Damn straight it is. Anyway, this is Weeaboo Hell.
It's Weeaboo Hell.
Have a good one, people. Fuck 12.
Fuck 12.
I almost made it. I almost fucking made it.
Cool.
And it is on the correct microphone this time, so I don't have to exist
that's
in
a good thing.
forest of hatred.
Oh, yeah, that must have been a really fun little 4 a.m. for you.
I never thought that the fucking animation gag of someone's fingers digging into their palm until they nearly produce blood would happen to me in real life. And yet, there I sat.
And there you sat. Just...
It was a wild time.
For some reason, it's not really an analogous situation, but for some reason I'm reminded of like that one great little fucking, I guess, not sight gag, but just bit of physical humor from the first Guardians movie with Rocket just being like, "What do you still have it for?" Just dragging his fucking nails down his face.
Rocket's animation X motion capture is...
It's fucking masterful.
It's a great time. Oh, give me a second. I'm going to turn my mic down a tick, actually, because it looks like I have some pretty high bars here, and sometimes I get louder than this. Like, sometimes I get like this, and yeah, that bricks a little. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
I believe that is, in fact, a fucking product of me trying to get my lines up during the episode where it didn't fucking work.
Were you being Yahtzee just now?
Kinda. I know, the guy's in my fucking subconscious.
Yeah, I've watched more Yahtzee than a lot of people, I think.
Like, if I were to
Okay,
compare the amount of Yahtzee in my DNA to assorted, I don't know, newscasters, reporters, people that you're supposed to keep more track of than... I've been listening to him so long, I have more memories with that riff than when he was selecting the music himself.
I miss that era.
I miss that too. That was a really...
I liked when he got to pick his own songs. That was like half the fun sometimes. You're like, ooh, what's it going to be for this one?
I don't know if it just got big enough that it became a licensing nightmare, but there has to be some kind of fair use given the... I don't know, arguing that any given ZP thing is satire is a 2-minute thing, and then your lawyer goes back to sleep.
You would know more about it than I would at this point. I don't know, maybe they decided that because he, was a big enough name, he needed a, big enough sound behind his name. If that was the rationale, then it was a bad one. I, want to believe that it was a legal thing, so it wasn't just some dumb suit with a dumb idea.
One can hope, though. Given the people they dropped and this general fuckery era that website went through, I would not be surprised if it was just a straight overproduction case.
Could very well be. Just, maybe they brought on a new guy who decided to start throwing his weight around while being like, and now this zero punctuation thing, this is our moneymaker. It needs its own theme song.
I don't know if that's a good idea, baby.